that fight right there, there was a lot of people that were looking at that guy, undefeated. This guy's coming off of 2 finishes. I felt like I was counted out that fight. And I mean, as somebody that's been counted out my whole life, that wasn't anything I was not used to. So it was the fact of me wanting to prove everybody wrong. I didn't care about the belt, honestly. I wanted to take his 0. That's what I cared about. I wanted to go in there, especially after all the smack talk he was talking.
What is up, ladies and gents? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Raph Esparza, coming to you with another great installment of the Grappling Hour. I'm very excited for today's show for this reason. This guest came here. He came to visit us. And I like when the guests come here and visit. Sometimes they train. Today, not. You know what? We'll get to that in a second. But before we get to that guest, a couple quick reminders. First and foremost, if you like the show, and I hope that you do, all I'm asking is that you go on over to our Patreon. So go to patreon.com/grappling hour. If you go there for just $5 a month, you can get these interviews 30 days before anybody else. So what does that mean? You basically see the interviews before they go up on YouTube. So those poors that don't pay, they got to wait. They're going to be like, hey, Raph, when my interview coming out? And I go, whenever I feel like it, because my Patreon people get it first. And that means you guys. And I want to make sure that you guys get to enjoy and see it and have fun with it before anybody else. So that's part one. If you pay a few extra dollars, you can see extra bonus content not available anywhere else, including some segments that people like and called Roast Raph, where people roast my competition footage. It's surprisingly our most favored segment on the show. But you can also catch other segments where we ask people who they respected the most, crazy stories, extra things that aren't necessarily on the main show. So you can catch that. And we also do a segment called Tape Study, where we watch matches and fights with the fighters themselves and break that down. I love those segments the most. So check that out at patreon.com/grappling hour. If you also want to support us, you can get some merch. Go on over to raphesparza.com/merch. Get you a Grappling Hour hoodie or a t-shirt. And I know you're saying, it's summer, Raph. Why do I need a hoodie? Well, a lot of you compete. And you want to stay warm. And that hoodie keeps you warm when you're waiting on the sides. Because, listen, we've all gone to compete and you're just sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. But nobody looks bad waiting in their Grappling Hour hoodie. So keep that in mind. Last couple of reminders. You can like, comment, and subscribe on this video. And if you don't know what you want to comment on, by the end of this video, I will give you a prompt to go ahead and discuss in the comment section. And last but not least, if you want to continue the conversations that we have here on the show, check us out on our Discord at Grappling Hour. All right, our guest. What can I say about this young man? I mean, obviously, he's an impressive fighter. He's a champ. He brought the belt here from, UNF, which we love out here in Southern California. And we're super stoked to have him. And this dude is somebody I've had my eyes on. I've seen him fight a couple times in person and always caught me as a very good soul, very easygoing, very fun to talk to, according to people who know him best. But I decided to bring him on the show because I wanted to actually get to know him a little bit better myself. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome your UNF champ, Byron Valle. How are you doing, sir?
Good, how are you?
Hey, pleasure to have you. We don't need to get into anything uncivil first, but why don't we start with just a little bit of the beers?
I'm always down with that.
Because we're celebrating your championship, sir. But I think they could have gotten a little bit colder beers, but that's okay.
That's all right.
But for you, we don't need to say why we're not training today, but something came up.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, tell the people why you were so scared to train with me.
Well, honestly, I didn't want to embarrass him before the podcast, and he was teaching a class too, so it's like, all right, I can't do that to the coach,
Can I be very honest with you? I think my students know me well enough to know I've been embarrassed by better.
Okay.
So it's not like you're going to come in and be the first person to tap me that they've seen. But there is a mystique that happens with instructors where they're like, nobody can beat you, coach. Yeah. And I'm just very clear on being like, you need to be around other people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't pretend anything like that. I'm just saying, I just felt like there wasn't trash talk. I've heard that you're not a trash talker, but I've heard that you're somebody who will talk trash in the middle of, say, a fight. So now that I know this information, when I was joking with you, I was like, hey, man, you bringing that title? Am I going to have to take that away from you? And you were like, we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. And then you tell me like, hey, bro, just to let you know, unfortunately today. And I was like, oh, I see how it is. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure we've established that as a thing. So we're planning to train soon though, right?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to let you off the hook, you know? Okay, so I'll definitely be back and we'll have our story.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. It's just, I await that. I don't run away from challenges. You know what I mean? Like, you can say a lot of bad things about my jiu-jitsu, but that's not one of them. And I think that now we've also discussed one thing that caught my eye when you were in media day cycle was that you were asked your favorite professional wrestlers. And then I also saw you were wearing a DX shirt at your weigh-ins. What is the connection to DX for you or that style? Because you strike me as very mild-mannered. I didn't pick up that when I first saw you fight.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess with like the whole DX thing, I've always kind of been like a little, I'll be well-mannered, but I'm also a little rebel. I got that side of me. So I will be quick to say when I do not like somebody or when I'm not feeling something to oppose that opposition, you know? So I guess that's where the style comes from, and that's where like I guess me liking those wrestlers were from.
Okay, that's fine. But then I saw you. Were you not giving the suck it sign as well at the end? Because I go, hey man, I think this dude's really embracing the pro wrestling style. Yeah. So what was that like? Were you just in the moment and you just go, I need something to celebrate? Like what's happening in your mind there?
No, so Jeremy, the content creator for Up Next, we're right there. I was getting ready to walk out, and he kind of throws that up, and I'm like, all right, you know, dude, I'll do it. To be honest, I haven't watched wrestling in a while. Yeah, I've kind of just been focused on like fighting and stuff like that. Being a real fighter, yeah. Well, I don't want to say those guys are not real. They put their body through the line, but yes, I guess putting that. And then when I found out. Well, actually, let me not go into that because I don't want to hurt the little kids' feelings when they find out. Yeah. But that kind of hindered things for me as well. You know?
No! So wait. Okay, I'm glad you assumed I have children watching this. But when you were discovering that things were predetermined, that made it so that you're like, hey man, I need to check out. I thought for sure Stone Cold beat this dude clean in the ring. So that changed things for you?
It definitely did. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Because to me. I wasn't so bothered by it as much as I thought these are storytellers. So as long as you take it like a movie or a story, you just go, there's going to be an arc. So sometimes the intention is to not make you like it. Yeah. So that to me was a quick lesson that I think has served me well when I see all these fighters get under each other's skin and try and talk shit to each other. I'm like, oh, they just want a reaction. Yeah. And if you don't give it to them, then they feel like, oh man, that didn't work. Yeah. Or they go so aggressively dumb that somebody goes, that's cringe. Yeah. So now when I see kids saying cringe, I go, well, that's how it works. So, okay. When you did watch, just to put a pin on this, can you name me your favorites? Like who were your guys aside from Triple H?
I loved the Rey Mysterio. I loved, I was a big Jeff Hardy guy too growing up. Yeah. I like all the classic guys, you know, that's when everybody had all the cool wrestlers and stuff like that. I also did stop watching because I didn't really think there was anybody that cool anymore. There's no like Randy Ortons or anything like that. So, yeah, I don't know. Kind of moved on from that side.
As you should. But then your new characters become the Ultimate Fighter kind of folks. Yeah. So when you were growing up, you had mentioned like a little bit off air when I was prepping this, you had mentioned that really quickly you started training to like have an interest in the world of boxing, martial arts, and all of that. So like for you, were you watching The Ultimate Fighter at 6? Because you mentioned in one of your other interviews that at 6 was where it started to seep in. This is a real thing that maybe you want to do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've always been interested in it, you know? It's kind of like something that, I mean, growing up, that's something I was always involved in with the fighting side. So then seeing that on TV was kind of like one of those where it's like, I found out real quick that you don't play fighting, you know? So it's kind of like, all right. But from then, I kind of just fell in love with it. It was something that allowed me to express myself in another way than words. I wasn't as good with my words as I am now. So it was like I was able to express myself through that. And I got into a lot of trouble with when I shouldn't have, but once I was able to dial that down, it was all, you know, back to normal.
You say this, and I'm glad you're a good success story for martial arts. But it's so funny the amount of times that you were like, hey man, I was a bad kid. Because to me,
Yeah.
Super upstanding. The way I see you conduct yourself doesn't lead me to believe that.
Yeah.
But sometimes the pendulum can swing all the way back around. What do you think made you such a travieso when you were growing up? Like, what made you that kind of kid that you go, yeah, kid's kind of a bad kid?
Yeah. Well, I guess you could say the environment I grew up in. You know, everybody was doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. So it was kind of like, what side are you choosing? It's either you're going to be one of those that are going to get picked on, or you're going to be one of those that are going to try to, you know, I wouldn't say, not necessarily, I've never been into the whole bullying thing. And I was always one of those people that people would call me to handle the bullies, because I was never scared. I was always a small kid, so a lot of people would try to pick on me, super skinny and all that. So I just showed people that I wasn't scared. And I guess showing people that I wasn't scared led them to me like, all right, I don't want to be on this guy's bad side, so let's try to make him, let's try to be cool with him, you know?
Okay.
So it's just one of those where it's like, I wouldn't necessarily say I was a bad kid, but I was somebody that would be in and out of trouble with things that I shouldn't be doing. And I guess learning life, you know?
Do you remember your first fight? Like, when was your first fight? Because
For sure, yeah.
it sounds like it was super young.
It was. So yeah, as I was always one of those kids that would get into fights just anywhere. You tell me something I didn't like, I'd be one of those, boom, right? So I would say as far back as I was one of those kids that would fight in like a jumper, you know, like you would make fun of my cousin or something like that, or my little brothers, and I was very defensive as an older sibling. It's kind of one of those where I'm a protector, as always. I still am to this day, even with my teammates and stuff like that. You could be older than me, and I would still like have your back as if I'm the older brother. So I would say from when I can remember was in school, like first real fight where I was, well, it was sort of real, I guess, because we would kind of, from watching UFC, we would go in there and like, let's do that, you know? So we fought a couple times in the bathroom, like in school, just as kids in elementary. But as I've got into plenty of fights before that, as street fights and just, you know, as far back as I could really remember, you know?
Damn, man, because I'm trying to pinpoint it, because I'm a person who never got into a fight, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
My mouth. Most people's mouths get them into fights. My mouth got me out of fights. So when people would start like circling around, I was a decent enough of an athlete where I said, okay, if you want to fight, we can fight.
Yeah.
But then I would start roasting them so aggressively that they would back down and the fight would dissipate.
Yeah.
And some of that's probably luck. Some of that's probably just, I'm probably funnier than I am an athlete.
Yeah.
But I look at people like you who were growing up with this, and because it's so commonplace for you, I'm just always curious, like, when you have those first fight memories, what stuck out to you? Like, was it that you thought this is kind of cool and that you kind of enjoy doing it? Or were you just so prone on the defensive angle that you said, no, there's a mission at hand. It's protect those that I love and then stop?
No, for sure. I mean, I was always scared. You know, I was always like, I didn't want to fight, but if nobody else is going to fight, I was always the person that would volunteer myself. I like to look out for the little guy, even though I was always on the little guy side. So it was kind of like, it's just one of those where I know I could take more damage than somebody else, and I would rather put myself through the pain than watch somebody else do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting to know, because again, when you don't have this life, and it makes sense because I didn't become a fighter. Eventually, once I started learning martial arts, I could see the science behind it, and that attracted me, because I said, oh, there's things that I know I can explain well, or that maybe I'm not the best athlete in the world, but I can offset it by this kind of strategy. So that appealed to me. When you were a kid, were you playing other sports at this time? And if so, what were those sports that you were kind of into?
Okay, so yeah, when I was a little kid, I played soccer a lot. That was always my dad's dream, was to be a soccer player. So he kind of put us into it. And I was in love with soccer, you know, I was in love with it. And it just got to the point where people could start seeing that path where I was going down was, okay, it's like I would get into little fights during playing soccer, and it was because of like small things and stuff like that. I didn't know how to control my rage back then. So it was like I was always like wanting to do physical sports, and I guess once it got down more, we finally got down to that level where it was like, all right, we're seeing where you're going. Let's start this, you know?
It's so funny to me because even the owner of this gym, his story was that I think he was playing soccer as well, or some sport, and then he got into a fight, and his parents were like, we're putting you in martial arts. So I can't tell you how many gyms have had this. And what's even funnier to me now is now he's teaching kids who have that same story. So when they bring it to him, I'm like, no, he's the guy to go to. Because he went through that as well. sometimes when you're just that young, you need something to channel that anger. So what's fascinating to me for your story is you were playing sports, but you were fighting almost probably just as much as you were playing the sport at a certain point, which is very funny to me because I always figured that soccer, although it was incredibly physical, was just so much more demanding to me from the running, the endurance, that the physical contact, it didn't even register with me.
Yeah.
Like I told people, like, if there was ever going to be a version of me that would have been okay at Muay Thai, it would have been at 17, 18, 11 years of soccer in. Now I'm like, bro, this thing, like, literally you can, like, nick me in the side. I'm like, oh, I kind of feel that, bro. But, like, back then, nothing hurt me because I go, all right, the real struggle is trying to run for 45 minutes at a time. And if they put you at a halfback position, which was where I played, you never stopped moving.
Exactly, yeah.
So, okay. So your dad's dream was to be a soccer player. What is the adjustment like when you start kind of falling out of love in soccer, and when do you stop playing soccer?
Yeah, so the adjustment period was, I think, right before high school. That's when I kind of noticed, all right, you know, I didn't want to do this with my life. Wanted to do something more. So when I went into high school, I started playing football. Went in freshman year. I played freshman year season.
What'd you play?
I played literally almost every position. That's how you know my team was pretty trash. You got this short little Mexican kid that was 115 pounds playing every single position. And I wasn't the most physically gifted like athlete, right? I've always been somebody. I was good at football, but I didn't have the attributes to make it to the NFL. So, and then also during football, it was a physical sport, so I wanted to put that. But then also at the same time, the more physical it gets, the more physical I get with the aspect of that. And then growing up in the way I did, I was used to trash talk, but also I was one of those that I would trash talk a lot. So nowadays I don't do it as much because I know the trouble it gets me into. So I try to stay out of it a little bit, right? Try to be a little bit smarter with the way I move. But yeah, I got into a couple times where on the field where I'm trying to take people's helmets off to get into more physical contact than it was.
To be honest, though, that's where we're supposed to be directing it. Like, football is an incredibly physical sport. I played as a wide receiver because at that point I was still fast. Yeah. And sorry, but I got to sell you out. Every time I tell this story, I always wonder, I'm like, is he ever going to see this? Yeah. Like, we don't talk. I've never seen this guy in 20 years, but you never know who knows this guy. But I think this is a two-hander. So I'll say the part that's bad about you first. His Hail Mary was like 20 yards. Yeah. So I would go out there and run patterns that I knew there was no way I'm getting the ball. Yeah. I'd just be like, oh, and he's down. Okay. So eventually what I realized was, you know, it was about this time that I kind of recognized I needed these. So I'm like, my timing was off too on my catching. So even if he could throw, it's not like I was ruining the team or he was ruining the team. We were the bad news bears. When you talk about having a trash team, I'm like, same. Yeah. And what really sucked was my freshman year, our senior team won CIF. So here we are thinking like, we got to live up to this. We got to get out there. We got to be those guys. Maybe not. We really suck, man. Yeah. This is really bad. We're embarrassing ourselves. So when you say the story, I know this life of being in soccer. I know this life of playing some football. When do you start thinking like, all right, now I actually want to take a martial art? Like, how does that happen?
Well, I've always wanted to do it. Martial arts has always been my passion. My uncle got me into it as early as I could remember, and he was always one of those people that would let me. We would like play fight, but he would always let me take that extra level where I'd hit him and he'd come back with black eyes and busted lips and bloody noses, and he was always fine with it. So I always give my props to him. He's the one that put me down this path. But it was just the convincing of my parents. You know, my parents, they didn't want me to do it. They were like, all right, you already have this past of like, you know, violence. So it's like, why put him in a violent thing where until it finally happened, it made me a less violent person, which a lot of people don't understand with martial arts. I feel like gets you to discipline and stuff like that, and it just levels you out. Yeah. I remember my first time stepping on the mats, I got beat up by a girl, and I was like, wow, fuck, you know, this is different, you know? Ego goes down the drain, and then it just turns you. I've always wanted to be a scholar into it, and as soon as I started going down that path, it was like, boom. But it was the convincing of my parents was the only reason I didn't start before.
Because, okay, the funny part is the boys here at the gym were talking shop. You're waiting for me to set this up, which thank you, by the way.
Of course. Yeah.
And you're talking with the guys, and they're all asking you questions about your training because they see this wonderful belt, and you deserve it. You know, I'm familiar with your work, But when somebody walks in, half the time it's so unassuming. That's the best part about martial artists.
Yeah.
They can't tell. They have no idea. So when they're like sitting, they're like, what the guys saw you walk in, they go, ref, you got a guy. And I was like, yeah I know. He's pretty good at this. I don't want to blow him up. So they come in, they start making conversation with you, and you're all talking about your martial arts experiences. But what's fascinating to me in this world is, as you're talking with them, you would very casually mention you'd only been really training for about 3.5, 4 years.
Yeah.
And then this happens. So to me, it's not necessarily like that you've just been training that short of a time. That a lot of people don't necessarily achieve this in that short of a time. What it means is you made the most of your time. So we'll get into that. I already know your team. They're an incredible team, and that's part of it. But do you remember, you said you got beat up in your first class. When was your first class that you took, and what was it? Was it jiu-jitsu that you did first, or what was it in martial arts that you had going first your way?
So I've always kind of been decently talented in jiu-jitsu. My uncle used to help me out with that a lot. So as a white belt, I kind of knew a little bit what's going on. And I'm a student of the game, so always watching and doing stuff like that. I'd practice on my little brothers, even though they did not like it all the time.
Oh,
but I
no.
but that's why I was like, all right, man, I got to get myself into the gym because I'm never going to get better if nobody else wants to work with me. But I think my first class was a Muay Thai class.
Okay.
I didn't really know what I was doing. I thought I knew how to throw a punch, but I didn't at all. Like, no technique or something like that, just from previous experiences, And I remember this vividly because I was working. I would drop my head a lot because I was more boxing heavy style. And so I remember I landed a punch, I slipped down and caught a head kick right to the face. And I was like, whoa. And then since then I was like, okay, I wanna get better at this. I don't want this to happen. And especially too, as a little kid, you're like, fuck, I'm getting beat up by a girl. Like, just at that age, I'm not thinking of anything like that. And nowadays, shout out to the women that do this thing because there's a lot of girls that I know could beat up men anywhere.
Sure. Yeah.
So the fact that this happened to me, I was like, okay, I guess maybe the ego was like, all right, let's not let this happen again. Yeah. So finally, I got to the point where I was like, all right, let's just stay consistent in it. And you asked my coach that I went to. I went in there and told him right away. I was like, I want to fight. I'm gonna be a champion for you. No experience. And he told me, you go out there and show me something. So finally going out there and doing that, I just put all my time and effort. This is what I wanted to do, and this is something I want to take serious.
Okay, I'm going to stop on a couple of these things because this is awesome. I love hearing these stories because they help explain why you become who you become.
Yeah.
I have to ask, in this world, because I share this experience, on the Mexican side, it almost feels like so many Mexican families are so embedded in the boxing side. So what was it like for you when you say you didn't know how to throw a punch, but you thought you knew how to throw a punch? That probably comes because so many of us with our tios literally are boxing with them, or they're trying to teach you something just to make sure you're safe. Like, that's part of the greatness of at least the culture that I've seen on my side, which was, Mijo, you don't know any of this stuff. And I'll be like, I don't know how to throw a punch. I don't know any of this stuff. And a lot of those family members try to make sure you're good. You mentioned your uncle. When you walked in, why do you think you went to Muay Thai first? Because part of me is curious as to why you didn't go to boxing first.
Yeah. So I guess I wanted to be a full martial artist. I know that MMA is not just for boxing. Like guys that I grew up watching, like Anderson Silva was somebody I looked up to a lot growing up, and I'm like, the kicks is something different.
Yeah.
And sometimes even throughout my street fights and stuff like that, I would throw kicks and it was always effective. It's just I didn't know the proper way too. And then I guess walking in there, I was like, if I'm gonna learn this, I want to learn everything, and I want to just showcase. I want to get better at every skill and every aspect. That's the only way to grow as an MMA fighter. If I want to become the best, I want to learn every aspect of the sport. So I guess being a student of the game and a fan of the game, I just wanted to become the best fighter I could possibly.
So how old were you when you walked into that Muay Thai gym?
I was 18.
Okay, so you're 18.
A month after I turned 18.
Wow. So that's probably what got you over the edge with the parents, because at that point you're your own man.
Yeah.
So they don't have all the influence. Once you're 18, you make your own decisions. Yeah. So you literally were waiting, like, give me this, give me this, give me this. and then they could probably not block you from doing it as much.
Yeah, I was constantly like begging them and asking them like, come on, man, you know, like I'm almost there. Even before I was 18, I was constantly, and they as soon as I turned 18, my parents were like, all right, look for a gym. We had just moved to Inglewood at that time, so it's kind of like, all right, let's find something that's gonna work. I went straight to Uprise MMA and I stayed there ever since.
Good for you, man. You mentioned this on another show.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated about this for your background, because you mentioned how you had some surroundings where a lot of people could maybe falter from, but yet you found a lot of strength in that. How do you think that you, just for your story, were able to stay so consistent that you were able to break through that and use that as fuel and motivation to obviously achieve and continue down a path that you knew you really wanted ever since you were young?
Since I was young, I always had that feeling I was going to be somebody special. And I always wanted to be somebody that people could look up to and leave a lasting memory, you know, like a legacy when I'm gone. And I guess I could attribute that to my grandpa. And my grandpa was the closest person to me. He was a person that I could always go to and talk to and stuff like that. That was the guy that all my family members consider as the godfather, you know, like it's the guy you go to and everything, you know, keeps everything in check. Any problem gets solved right away with him. So I guess always looking up to him, I've always wanted to be kind of like that. So when he did pass away, it's kind of like, all right, that void was empty. That was hard for all my family. Everybody was struggling, and there was a lot of bickering back and forth in between, like, all right, who's going to fill that role? And eventually, I mean, the path started pointing to, like, I started doing this, and everybody started looking up to me and telling me how proud they are and stuff like that. So I filled that void as much as I can, and it just led me to that path where I'm like, all right, I need to be somebody that people are going to be able to look up to and be inspired by. And ever since then, I've always wanted to be that. And now I get people that I've went to school with that seen me on that, you know, like not at the best, and they're like, man, you inspire me. And that's the thing that keeps me going, honestly, is I want to be an inspiration to the world, not only in my community, but when I'm gone, leave that everlasting memory, you know?
That's awesome. I just always think of it like I grew up in a suburb, so I can never fully say like I came from hardship in that way.
Yeah.
But it's very weird because there's a lot of diagram in. You played soccer, I played soccer. We both thought this isn't forever, but I love it. I love the competition. I love getting better, but saying this isn't what I'm going to be doing forever. Then played football for a little bit, kind of realized like, yeah, this is fun for now.
Yeah.
But you wanted something more aggressive. I wanted something more technical. And yet here we are, both martial artists. So for both of us, it's wild how there's divergent paths, but even though you came from a different side, you have not only excelled in this world, but you found a home where people have recognized you at your best. So that's the part that I find so wonderful about what this sport can do. Having said that, you mentioned your Muay Thai first experience. What was your first Jiu-Jitsu experience like?
All right, so my first jiu-jitsu experience wouldn't be as bad as people would think. I mean, I got tapped a couple of times, right? Because the guys I was training with are guys that are super high level, black belts, purple belts, brown belts, you know? But I remember, I'm like, the fact that I was able to keep up a little bit and being like my first couple days in, and I was like, all right, you know, I'm not as, I got some skill here, so there's easily to be improved upon, you know? But simultaneously, I was trying to get myself better at both sides of it. And I started out very defensive, but now I have a very offensive attack style. Like when I get down to the ground, I'm constantly attacking. And I feel like that's honestly helped me now. Like if you look at my recent MMA fights where everybody, it's got to the point where it's like, what side, pick your poison, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've got to way more comfortable. If you want to take me down, go ahead. You know, I'm not going to be opposed to that, you know, just be careful.
You've gotten in some shootouts that I think that's why you've gotten Fight of the Night honors. I think that's why you become a fan favorite. I think that's why the UNF organization loves you so much, because they get excited when they see you on these shows. I want to say I was either covering an event or photographing it, and you kind of were on it, and I didn't know you, but I try to observe as much as I can. And it's hard because there's so many fights, you take in so many things. And as good as I am with my memory, it's hard to pinpoint everything. But I do remember seeing you and thinking, he loves doing this. Like, that's kind of cool. I don't know a lot about you, but I felt like a love for this. And that's a hard thing to do because a lot of these guys sometimes are scared.
Yeah.
They're intense. They feel like they have a job to do. Everybody does it and responds to pressure in a different way. But what I saw for you was calm, reserved. And then when you did get in those shootouts, it actually was wildly entertaining. Like super fun to watch where I go, okay, let's see where he goes. And then of course this happens. You're sitting there talking like, I want to be champ. When I'm not even thinking about now, I'm thinking about when I go pro. And I just thought, this is a kid who has the future in his sights. So much like when you were a kid and saying, I see myself as a fighter. Now you're looking even further past that and saying like, I see myself in the UFC. I see myself taking this as far as I can go. And I just think to myself, like, that's the attitude of somebody I want to talk to. Like, that's somebody who I go, they're worth getting to know because they have vision. And at the very least, that vision will take them further places than most people who wish they would have. So that was kind of how I observed you at first. But when you took that first class, we always like to ask people like a 1-2 question, you know, like tell us about your first day. But the other question I ask is this: when did you fall in love with jiu-jitsu? Now for you, it's a whole martial arts, but when did you actually fall in love with it? Because a lot of people just do this as a hobby. When did you decide this is more than just a hobby? This is like something, a way of life.
I was always in love with jiu-jitsu. I fell in love with jiu-jitsu before I fell in love with my hands. I was always one of those firm believers, like just watching. I mean, you look back to like the first UFC when Royce Gracie submitted that giant, you know? And it's like you see guys that are smaller being able to take out these big guys. And it's like, that's cool. To me, that was always cool. I could throw a punch at you as much as possible, but if I'm able to hold you down or choke you out and just do something where you're not expecting, to me, it's more satisfying than a knockout, because a knockout could come lucky. You could land on the button, right? Boom, put you out. Jiu-jitsu, it's more technical. It's like a game of chess. I do like chess, so it's like, you know, putting myself in those positions where it's like you're able to outsmart your opponent and being able to capture things like that. So I would say I was always in love with jiu-jitsu, but as soon as I took my first class, I was like, okay, you know, I belong here. You know, this is like something I want to get better at and keep on translating into my game.
Okay. So we know that fighting was something that can be traced all the way back to your days in a bounce castle.
Yeah.
But like, when do you make that decision that you do want to fight? Because even though you know you want to fight, you had your parents that said no. You have a skill that you need to really pick up, and that your coaches are not going to let you just jump in there without acquiring that skill. When do you know you want to fight for sure? And then like, what's the motivation behind fighting? Because it changes when we get older. Yeah. When you're a kid, sometimes it's for fame or fortune. As you get older, sometimes it's to prove yourself. Sometimes it's to demonstrate this mastery of a skill. But sometimes it's just a random thing. So for you, what was it that made that combination of, I know I want to fight, and here's the reason why?
It's always been my dream. Like, I always wanted to go out there and prove to myself, you know, as somebody that was always looked like, not really, I would say down upon, but as somebody that was not really destined for anything. It was one of those where I'm like, okay, I know I could do this outside of this, but is it putting myself through the whole fight camp and the whole pressure of knowing that you're going to go out there and it's either going to make or break you. You could go out there and get embarrassed. You could go out there and I mean, every time we signed that contract, you were putting your life on the line. So yeah. I would say just always knowing I wanted to do it. But as soon as I stepped into that cage, that's where I kind of knew it was like, all right, this is going to be my path. I stepped in there and I was so, I wouldn't even say nervous, because it wasn't even nerves. It was more like anticipation. It's like, this is going to prove to me if I'm going to be able to do this and if I'm going to be able to take this serious with my life. I stepped in there, and as soon as that cage door closed, the referee told me, are you ready? I felt all the weight lifted off my shoulders, just a calmness. And I knew this is where I belong.
Well, that's how you know you're supposed to be a fighter. Like, sometimes you just know the minute you get involved with it. It's wild to me because I kind of like put through some of my friends, having talked with fighters for the better part of 12, 13 years now. I try to give them the knowledge that I've picked up in all these interviews with all these different fighters, probably somewhere near 500 grapplers and fighters over that many years. They all kind of give me some sort of insight to what made them tick. And what I find fascinating is some have the answers and some don't have the answers. And the ones that don't have the answers just go like, I just know this is what I'm supposed to do. I don't know why, but I'm doing it and I'm going to pick it up as I go. For you to come in with 3.5 years, 4 years, and just do it in such a fast way tells me that it was so ingrained in your brain that you said, the minute I can, I will. And I like hearing that story because if you look at your amateur career, you're closing in, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but on 5-1 as an amateur with a belt, and you've just recently announced that you're going to go pro. So for you, you've got this great experience that you've capsuled. You're still incredibly young, and you've got this big goal. So I guess the question is, why go pro now? And what does that future look like in your head for you going forward?
I would say, I mean, granted, I am still young. If I want to, I could still take this, like, do as much more in the amateur level. But I feel like at this point in my life where I've gotten to, and I mean, getting the advice from guys that are professional athletes and stuff like that, and they're telling me they think that I'm ready, or coaches that have been in the game for a long time and have coached some of the greatest fighters of all time, you know? So it's kind of like, if they could see the potential in me already and to take this next step in my game, I'm very confident in where my skills are now, to the point where I'm like, I think I could, not that I think, I know I could compete with these guys, at least at this level right now. And I'm like, I feel like that's the only way I'm going to learn is fighting people that are better. That's the way I learned at the beginning. I was always putting myself through the fire against people that were better. And I don't mind being the nail, because I mean, now I'm normally the hammer, but I love when guys could teach me a lesson. It's like, all right, it makes me work harder. Mm-hmm. It's that competitor spirit in me where I'm like, all right, I'm going to take this forward and I'm just going to get better. For example, that loss that I had in my career. I was going in on that fight 3-0. I felt great my last fight before that title fight. And I took that fight maybe on 3 weeks' notice. Top of the world. My mind was like, all right, nobody's going to beat me. I went out there and I was just happy to be there, honestly. I wasn't as locked in as I normally was. It was more like, you know, I'm here. Like, this is where I saw myself. I was kind of like, I was content with that. And before that fight, I was always kind of like, all right, when am I going to take that loss, you know? I'm like, eventually it's going to come. I'm like, maybe I was in a year into training. In the span of maybe it was 5 months, I had 3 fights, 3-0. I felt on top of the world. And I was always kind of like, all right, you know, like I'm here pretty quick. Like, you don't see many people fighting, especially for the promotion that I was fighting for, the organization. It's like, it's a big promotion, and it's a pro level league, and you got me as an amateur fighting when I've only been training for like around a year. So I was kind of like, all right, when is this gonna happen? And I went in there and I was enjoying the experience. My skill level was not there. I didn't have my wrestling yet. I don't think I ever trained wrestling before that. I was relying on my jiu-jitsu. I was fine. I felt, and that fight taught me a lesson. It was like, all right, boom, wrestling is important for you. As soon as that fight hit, I lost a split decision loss. But honestly, that fight right there is probably the most important fight in my career, because it's made me into the fighter I am now. Since then, I'm on a 3-win streak right now, all finishes. Before that, no finishes. So it changed my mindset as a fighter. I never want to go out there and just seeing not even, because none of my family or fans that were there told me that I disappointed them, but I felt like a disappointment. I'm like, all right, it brought me back to that thought train of before I started fighting, and I was like, I don't never want to be that again.
It's hard because a lot of the times you have to, after you're competing or fighting, you have to split constructive criticism from trying to make you feel better. And the real goats are the people who say, tell me what I need to know. Tell me what will make me better. Don't tell me what makes me feel better right now. Exactly. Tell me what's going to get me to that next step. So a lot of the times for our guys who compete, I like to tell them, I'm not going to talk to you today. because today just makes you feel better if you lost. I'm going to talk to you Monday. Don't look at the footage. Monday we look at the footage, because what are you going to do? You're going to obsess over something that happened. And part of the reason why I've kind of made that a practice, and it's hard for me too, because I sometimes go and compete. And I actually went to compete this weekend. I lost a round, and a coach, a friend, who was like, hey, if you just do this and this. And I was like, dude, I'm breaking my rule. He's making me look at the footage. Yeah. But he was telling me, he's like, you did this. And I go, I didn't do that. Like, I was like, I know I didn't do that. Yeah. And then as I was showing it to him, I was like, I didn't do that, you know? But I was trying to hear him out, because I think it's really important to take the notes as objectively as possible. And it's so hard to just shut up and let people tell you what makes you better. But I'm so obsessed with, I don't want to be where I am. I want to continue growing. So when people are making you feel better, I'm sure they're saying, well, it's a split decision. It was so close. Like, it could have gone either way, this or this or this. But if you feel off and you didn't get the win, then it's like 2 strikes. Yeah. Because you know you could be better. You know what you're capable of. But you also know you didn't have it that night. So I think you're right. I think it is important to have a good approach for those losses. And what's important to me is you use that moment to say, it's the end goal is going pro and being as best as I can as being a pro. So that's a really good thing to have at that moment, for that clairvoyance that you need to get better and kind of keep improving. So having said this, though, so many people go so much further in their amateur career. You have this confidence in saying, bottle it up right here. That was who I was. I'm going to show you who I am now coming up forward. I just want to know, do you have a favorite fight from your amateur career? Like, is there one that sticks out? Because you have 6 different fights. Again, as we mentioned, some got accolades just for they were, some bring you titles. But is there one that sticks out to you from your career thus far?
Yeah, I'm going to say the fight that I had against Rod Malik, the fight that I won my title with. That fight right there, it was a lot of people that were looking at that guy, you know, undefeated. This guy's coming off of 2 finishes. I felt like I was counted out that fight. And I mean, as somebody that's been counted out my whole life, that wasn't anything I was not used to. Mm-hmm. So it was the fact of me wanting to prove everybody wrong. I didn't care about the belt, honestly. I wanted to take his 0. That's what I cared about. I wanted to go in there, especially after all the smack talk he was talking.
So just because people don't always know this, what in particular was he talking smack about? Like, what was he saying in the lead up to it?
Okay, so I mean, the first time I met him, we'll go back to the first time I was talking to the guy at UNF. We did like a Instagram face-off, mm-hmm. right? And just right there, I could see the cockiness that was coming out of him, and I was like, all right, you know, everybody should have a confidence.
Facts, yes.
But then you start seeing the comments, and this was my first time experiencing people, we call them net bangers, you know, like talking shit online. And it was like, all right, this is weird. I'm like, all right. I'm like, normally people like that in front of me, I would fight those guys automatically. You're going to talk shit to me like that. All right, let's go, you know? So just experience that over the phone was kind of different. It was like, all right, fuck. And then just seeing him play into it and I just felt like, brought me back to those days where people were trying to bully me. And I was like, I felt helpless at that time. So I was like, I can't do anything. These guys are wherever they are, you know, sitting on their couch talking shit. Mm-hmm. And then I remember content day. So for UNF, we have these days where they bring us in and we do a bunch of content for them. Me and my girlfriend at the time, we were coming out of the bathroom, and I see him down the hall. So we're walking that way, and I'm trying to be, you know, I'm like trying to be respectful. I say what's up to the guy. I'm like, oh, how's it going? Just fucking stares at me, doesn't say anything. And already that's a tick for me. I'm like, all right. I'm trying to keep it professional. I'm like, you're going to resort me back to my past habits, and no. I didn't want to do that. And then I'm like, all right, you know, I'm like, okay. So then I'm walking a little bit more. We're passing by him. Doesn't say anything, just staring at me. And I'm like, okay. I look at him still, and he's fucking staring at me. And first off, you could do that to me, and I'm going to probably take the same approach. But it also feels like you're trying to intimidate me in front of somebody that I care about, and I'm like, you're not going to intimidate me in front of my girl.
Right.
So then I look at him, I'm like, what the fuck are you looking at? It goes back to my instincts where I'm going to go and press the issue.
No, I know that voice.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I've been around enough of my cousins to know he's starting to get a little heated right now. Yeah. I better step in.
Yeah. So I go up to him, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you looking at, you know? and nothing, doesn't say anything. So I'm like, the fuck you trying to do? So I'm just walking up to him already in an aggressive pose. That's when everybody starts seeing, okay, you know, let's fucking separate these guys. And all the people at UNF know I'll be the nicest guy, but as soon as somebody steps on my toes, it's like that switch will come off and it will bring me into my fighting setting. And yeah, since then, and then right before that was right before we were gonna do a podcast. So then we're doing the podcast, right? And you know, he's saying all his little remarks. It sounds, everybody's making fun of him because it sounds like you rehearsed this in the mirror. Like, all right, it's whatever. But after, he wants to come up to me, he's like, look, dude, it's all respect, you know. It's like, I'm just trying to promote the fight. I'm like, it's all good, you know, but you promote the fight on camera. Off camera, I take that as disrespect. And if you're gonna disrespect me, I'm not gonna take that. That's just the type of person I am. So it's just all of that, and then going into the fight like right before, it's just all the same thing. And this is a funny story, like I've never told anybody too, is like right before the fight, I was coming out of the cage, filling the cage around, we passed by. It's the same thing, bro wants to fucking stare at me. So it's like, all right, you know, I'm like, all right, we're gonna see what's up in there. And just from all the pressure of everybody thinking this guy was gonna steamroll me, I'm like, no, fuck this, you know, because this is not gonna happen. You're already trying to do all of this. You're trying to play the part. I'm not gonna let this happen. You're not gonna intimidate me. You're not gonna do any of that. I'm used to this. This is where I grew up. This is nothing new to me. So as soon as I step in there, it's the whole different side. You watch the fight, I'm fucking talking shit to him. I'm flipping him off. I'm doing all these things, and I'm like, that fight, I think, put me out there to the point where everybody's like, okay, this guy's good. You know, it put my skills out there. And it wasn't even a fight that I was proud of because I was going in there with the worst camp I've ever had, injuries, sicknesses. I fought with a bruised rib, so my cardio wasn't in there. I couldn't do anything. It was the worst camp, but I was not pulling out because everybody else would pull out against this guy. And I'm like, all right. I was able to prove to myself is like, I wanted it more. I knew I wanted it more. And I showed everybody, and I shut up all the haters. And if you see the post-fight interview, I was like, whoever's out there talking shit on the crowd, you know, pull up, I want all the smoke, and nobody did.
It's so funny to me because when we do these interviews, we get maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes. So we had a nice 30 minutes, and you couldn't have been nicer to my guys because they're asking you incredibly stupid questions. Like, yo, have you had someone that wasn't cool? And it's like, dude, shut the, what are you asking this poor man for? Like, leave him alone. But what you're doing is you're coming in with this experience that they haven't had, and they're genuinely interested in you. So they want to learn about you. And even though some of the questions as I'm setting up here, I'm like, what the fuck are they asking? Like, they look like I haven't taught them how to be kids. But they're genuinely like, hey, a visitor. So they know if I bring you here, you tend to be somebody who's done well. So they're just curious, like, how do I do well? How do I do what you do? And they're asking you these questions, and you're so nice, so respectable, that it's so hard for me to have that disconnect. Again, none of them are fighting you, so it's a little bit of a different thing. But it tells me the type of disrespect that is being thrown at you to really try and agitate you. Because even when I was joking with you, like, hey, bro, I'm going to take that belt. You take it in stride. You're just like, all right, that's just fun. Like, it's just all in, like, we're having a gag about it. And it tells me, like, hey, man, he's going to be fun to talk to. He's got a good sense of humor. Those are the people who I resonate the best with. So it's very difficult for me to see the same guy going, pull up. Yeah. Any of you in the audience, you can get it if you want to, because that guy's still there. That guy who grew up as a kid who was protecting others and still probably in some respect is fighting as a form of protection for others. But I got to tell you, man, I saw that fight, and hearing this story that you just put out right now explains so much more the look on your face when you won, because you had this euphoric, exhausted kind of like, I'm so excited I just won this fight. And normally you're so much more like chill and reserved, but it explains why that one meant so much to you. So that's the one that you think really like demonstrates who you were as an amateur in that time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It was my proving story.
And it's a great fight. Like, you get this third round TKO, and I just remember looking at the end of it and thinking, I'm glad they stopped it, but you were on a roll. It's one of those great fights that maybe even then you could have said, like, all right, I'm done, but you had further business to do. So when you did finally like get this belt, I know you mentioned that it's not even about the belt, but what did that mean to you when you ended up kind of solidifying it? Because even though it might not necessarily mean you're worthy as a martial artist, it doesn't create worth for you. It is a benchmark for a kid that had a goal at like 6 years old that they wanted to become a champion. So what did it eventually mean when somebody put gold around your waist?
Well, the gold always meant something to me. I say that in a sense of I didn't care about the belt in that fight, even though it was the most important fight of my career at that time. It was the belt meant everything to me, but it was the fact that this guy I really didn't like. It was more important to me than the belt. But as soon as the belt was wrapped around me, it's like that realization finally hit. Is like, this is everything that you've dreamed of. This was that milestone that you put, that you wanted to become a champion before the age of 21. This meant so much to me. It was like, okay, I've always felt like I could be a champion, but the fact that I was here and the fact that I won and the fact that promise to my coach finally was fulfilled, it meant the world to me.
I'm so sorry. You said a promise to a coach. I don't know that you had said that with us. Did you promise one of your coaches that you were going to bring home gold to him?
Oh yeah, I as soon as I walked into that gym, I told him I was going to become a champion, and the fact that my only loss was for a belt, I felt like a disappointment, and I was like, it was a bitter taste in my mouth. And I told him, I was like, and he knew it. He knew I was going to be back. But as soon as I won that belt, it was one of those moments that he told me, this is what resonates with me the most, that I remember from him telling me. He was like, remember when you came into my office and told me that you would become a champion? You look at you now. And it was one of those where it's like the emotions finally came. Right after the fight, it was like, you're right. Like finally I could feel some kind of like fulfillment where I'm like, okay. And just the belt brought so many good opportunities for me, and it made everybody look at me, okay, like this guy was in the same position as me growing up, and look at what he's doing with his life. The amount of people I've been inspiring and the amount of people that have sent me DMs, or the people that I've seen or met in real life, and even my teammates that they tell me like, you're the person I look up to the most, when these guys are years older than me. It's like, I don't know, that's like my motivation to me. So this belt put me on that even more, like, okay, this is that next step. You got to do something. You can't stop now.
And you see it even here, because the boys, you walked in, just to kind of clear things up. He walked in without the belt, which, by the way, amateur status. My man should always be walking in with that belt, but it's so nice, so modest. He just comes in, the hoodie that he's wearing right now looks like he could be taking a trial class. We don't know. Sits down. We make some mention. I start building the set here, and he goes, all right, I'm going to go get the belt. The minute you walk in with the belt, the boys are like, whoa. And it's funny because one of our guys, Crispy, he's fighting for his first belt, and it's one of those Muay Thai kickboxing shows. And for me, I want him dialed in this week. So I'm not trying to ask him to do dumb things or come over, take jiu-jitsu. I'm like, hey, man, go get your brain situated. Stay locked in. Stay where you need to stay. And he looked at you, and he's like, bro, how old are you? And you're like, what? How old are you right now?
I'm 21.
You're 21. Yeah. Okay. He's telling you, he's like, dude, I'm 23. And he's looking at you. He's like, all right, do you have any notes or thoughts? And like, he's chopping it up with you in that way because he wants to succeed. So when you're talking about these people who are older than you, who are kind of looking at you as an inspiration, I mean, I saw it here tonight, just in that moment, because you got a guy who this is his week to lock in. And what I love about fighters is there is a mutual respect, even if you've never met, to being like, I've been on your journey. I've had to make weight like you've had to make weight. I've had to prepare like you've had to prepare. And you were giving him great notes and advice. And that to me is not only immeasurable in its worth to what it means to him, but as a fellow instructor, I'm just like, that's a cool guy. Like, that's a guy who approaches this as a profession, a craft, and is giving very solid, like, this is how you approach yourself in this world. And I just thought it was a really cool little touch that I got to see here at my gym, because honestly, I would have told him to shut up. I would have been like, bro, you're asking too many questions. And you saw me roasting him a little bit, but I just knew, I was like, yeah, it's his week, so I'm not going to mess with him too much. And then hearing you talk to him like that is like, hey, bro, it can happen.
Yeah.
It's just you, one, have to prepare for it. 2, finalize all your obligations, making weight, selling your tickets, getting out there, promoting the fight. And then 3, when it happens, recognizing that it happens and embracing, like, I deserve this. Like, I worked my ass off for it, and win or lose, whatever it is. But when you win, for sure, embrace that and hold that moment. Because it's very weird. When I brought in like this Naga belt, I didn't really compete in jiu-jitsu for years. I didn't really care for it. But I saw a lot of our guys were interested in competing. And I just started thinking, I was like, you know what you have to do? You have to set benchmarks for other people to follow. And if they have nothing to chase, then it's so much harder to get people inspired. And now when I see, you know, that belt in there, I literally just put it on the table. You know, I don't put posts about any of this shit. But somebody walked in and they saw the belt. By the time I made it into class that next day, they're like, Coach, is that your belt? And I was like, yeah. And they go, how come you didn't tell anybody? I was like, well, everybody who needs to know knows.
Yeah.
So when you walk in, you're the only people that matter. I don't need Clapter on Instagram telling me like, yo, great. I don't know those people. I know you guys.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, the next day, I had a couple of my students being like, yo, Coach, when's the next competition? And I was like, if you want it, you'll bypass it. You will 100% go further, but you got to want it. I don't tell you to go out and do it. So, yeah, it's a very subtle thing you're doing, and I think it's so dope. And, yeah, I mean, it's a great way to close out the amateur career. You have this great camp. The other question I was kind of intrigued on was, how did you find yourself associating with Black House? Because a number of my homies go there. We talked a little bit about Albert. Albert's like a friend that I've had for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's somebody who we almost have like a yearly appointment to do an interview and train. And I swear to God, it's like we talk just as much as we train, because it's like catching up with a friend and being like, yo, how's this going? How's this? Oh, is that dude? Yeah, he sucks. I hate that dude too. Yeah. So for you, how did you find your way over to Black House?
So that's the funny story with why that title fight was so important to me, my loss. That's why I say it's the most influential thing in my career. Was I fought that same night that Albert did. Mm-hmm. Albert was the main event. Mm-hmm. And I was the main event for the amateurs as well, right? But I just remember meeting Albert in the back. We had a small conversation, and I'm like, man, this guy's pretty cool. I'm like, I've seen this guy before from the UFC and stuff like that. So it's just the fact that I was competing on the same card. So I lost that fight, unfortunately. Albert ended up winning. But I ended up going to the next event. I was invited by Lights Out. They were, even though I had lost, they were very impressed with me and the way I carried myself and the way I showed up for the fight. I met Albert again back there, and we were talking, and he's like, hey, man, I remember you. I was like, oh, yeah, you know, we fought on the same card. So he invited me. I told him, like, I didn't wrestle and stuff like that. So he invited me to Black House, and I was like, dude, this is the cool opportunity. You know, I've heard so much. I'm like, look at this guy's a champion, very successful guy, especially a legend in Southern California. So now as I go there to Black House, and it's like I'm starting from scratch. I was already at my gym. One of the guys were, hey, this guy's, you know, doing something big. But Black House is like I'm starting from the beginning. I have to prove myself again. Mm-hmm. And it's like, all right, I'm invited by this guy. I don't want to show up and not be on my best behavior and not prove myself to anybody and just think I'm anything. So I go there, and that just honestly made my career just to a whole different level. It changed me as a fighter. I look up to Albert now as my big brother. And it was kind of like a full circle moment, this last fight right here, because it's like, this is back to where the same level that we started. You know, I wasn't on the team yet, but it's like me being the co-main event and he being the main event. It was just honestly the biggest thing that could happen to me. And like all those guys are my brothers now. We're all family. I've earned my respect, and I've gained it to the point where everybody like comes to me as if I'm the next guy too. So it honestly feels amazing, and it's one of those feelings where I'm like, okay, you know, this is where I feel comfortable. The reason why I'm turning pro now is because I got these great fighters in there that are all looking at me like, okay, I could do something big.
Good for you, man. And I've always loved that team. Like, where was I? I think it was a Jiu-Jitsu World League. Ilian and I were kind of like bypassing each other. We run into each other here and there. And literally, this was the extent of our conversation, because we've known each other for years as well. Hey, man, everything good? Yes, sir. Hey, when do I see you? I don't know, man. When do you guys got fighters? When is this happening? Literally, our conversation happened in 45 seconds. But with me and Ilion, it was, let's make sure to check in with each other. I'm not going to be like, hey, man, I'm too busy. I'm like, no, I'm going to make some time. You good? How's the team doing? And at that time, he told me, he's like, bro, we got so many people fighting. Yeah, I'm not leaving this place. I was like, brother, I don't have that issue yet, but it's a blessing. And he goes, yeah, I know. It's a lot of students here. And I go, hey, man, go kill it. But every time you run into these people, there's so many different histories where I'm just like, bro, I'll always be a friend and a fan. And I love the culture that they've cultivated there. Like, I see such great fighters. And so when we talk about this cheat code for you to do it in 3.5 years and get there, it is definitely part of it for you having done it in such a quick amount of time. Because some people stay amateurs for a long time.
Yeah.
What do you think the secret sauce was? Like, why do you think that you were able to do it and do it successfully? And what do you think is the advice you have for those who maybe are trying to emulate that and maybe have that same kind of path to success that you did in your amateur career?
Well, I honestly think it's my hard work and dedication. I'm in the gym every single day. I'm constantly looking to improve. It doesn't matter even now my status now as a pro fighter, about to be a pro fighter. It's like I'm constantly wanting to improve and become a version of myself. I'm constantly asking questions. I'm constantly trying to learn from the best. So like even Elon's took me under his wing. That's like a father figure to me now. Treats me amazing. And I would say like to those people that are trying to emulate the same thing as me is just stay consistent. It doesn't matter. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have days where you feel off, where you're not going to do the best. It's just you knowing that there's always going to be that next day. You have to take days like that so that you become better. If you're always going to be the one that's doing the best in that in your gym scenarios and stuff like that, you're never going to learn. It's always good to take losses. It's always good to – it just depends on how you want to proceed forward with that. And I always tell myself, no matter on my worst day, it's never gonna be the worst one to come. You know, there's always gonna be days where I'm gonna get beat up worse, or I'm gonna get taught a lesson by somebody else. It's just the fact that I'm like, I want to always get better so that those days don't happen. It's fine with me.
Good perspective. Well, we're starting to round third here, but we have a new chapter that's about to begin. So what has changed for you? I believe you've now taken on some new management, so congratulations on that. But that also means that a pro debut is happening in the near future at some point. What can we expect from the pro side of you? When you turn pro in X many months, what can we expect from you? And what are the changes that we can expect to see?
What you can expect from me is the same level of violence that I've been bringing. I'm going to bring even more. I feel like now it's to the point where this is my life and my dream that it's finally come true. Signing to that management even just, it boosted my confidence to the point where it's like I feel like I'm a pro level fighter now. I signed to that management, first round management, shout out to them. I'm their first ever amateur fighter they've ever signed.
Nice.
So it's something that was big to me, the fact that you could see that into me. These guys manage people like John Jones and Ilia Taporia. So it's kind of like, if you guys could see that level of this guy could be the next superstar for you, it makes me feel like I could be the next superstar. So it makes me want to work even harder. So what you're going to see from me as a pro is just somebody even more dialed in, somebody even more locked in, somebody that has more of a chip on their shoulder. And the fact that all these people are looking up to me, I'm not going to let them down. So I'm going to take it I'm going to be in the UFC. I'm going to be a UFC champion. You can mark that now. I'm saying this on camera in front of everybody. You will see me one day being at the top of the world, and I'm still going to be the same person I am now. I'm still going to be the same person that will walk into any gym like as if I'm still a beginner, because that's just the way I am, because I want to be that path for everybody to look up to me and be like, look at that guy. He's just a regular person. I could be that too.
If you're going to be on the same management as Ilia, I can't tell you what to do with your life. But, brother, we need to get our suit game up. I haven't seen the suit game on your side. I've just seen Ilia's. My man is dressed so sharp.
Super clean.
That I've had some of these guys come up and they're like, you like him? And I was like, he dresses like a champion. That man, when he was on the soccer field and he was doing that, I think he did it was like a first kick or like a coin toss or whatever.
Yeah, Real Madrid.
Oh, my God. When he walked on the field, I was like, that's a goddamn champion. Look at him. Look at that man. And they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, just the way he's carrying himself in his suit. They're like, what about his trolling and all this? Like, I don't give a shit. That dude is your champion. Yeah. Like, just the way he carries himself. So I'm just saying, if you're on the same place, like, there might be a function where maybe there's like a Christmas little party there. I'm just saying, brother, let's get a good suit on you. Let's make sure we're good. Because even if I was signed by that organization, I'd be like, I'd call my wife and be like, we got to spend a little more on the suits now. I'm like, I got one Italian suit that looks pretty good. I got married in, but it's a gray one. It depends on this function. I don't know if gray's accepted and whatnot, but you're right. That is a great company to be involved with, and it does bode well for you in the future. So, you got to keep just grinding and doing what you need to do. What I'm going to say to you is this, sir, because we don't know the exact date here, people. Don't come to this interview thinking that I'm going to tell you when he's fighting. We don't know. We know it's probably coming soon.
It's in the works.
Having said that, this camera is your camera. What I would love for you to do, give a shout out to friends, family members, anybody who helped you, not only in your most recent performances, but on your amateur side. So feel free to give a shout out to anybody you want to there, and take care of any sponsors you want as well, sir.
All right, yeah, shout out to all my team at Black House and Uprise MMA. You guys are the reason why I'm here now. You guys are the reason why I'm the fighter I am today. And I'm going to not let you guys down. I'm going to continue to become the best fighter I can be. Shout out to First Round Management for taking a chance on me. Jose Rodriguez, you're my guy. That's my agent. So we're only here to build now, and we're only here to get better. And you guys will see me on top one day. I promise you that.
I love hearing that. And you know what's great is, for me, we now have this great interview we've done. We got to learn a lot more about your experience. We do have this thing, though, where you're going to come back and train. Yeah. I feel, because I'm not going to take that belt from you, sir. Because I'll be honest with you. Let's say, best case scenario, I beat you for it. Now I got to defend it in mixed martial arts. I'm not trying to live that life, sir. I'm going to retire real quick off this. I feel we need some stakes here. So I feel like what we're going to do is we'll do a marathon round. So that means like an hour at least of just training.
Sounds good to me.
And let's say this. Let's say the person who gets tapped the most buys a lunch.
That's fine with me.
I feel like that is a fair thing. So, but the question is, what kind of food do you think you are trying to get here? Like, what kind of food do you like?
That's a good question. I may not look like it, but I am a big back. I eat whatever's there. So
I don't see it, bro. Hold on. What is the most you've ever weighed?
Probably right now where I'm at is 160,
brother.
But look, I'm a small guy. I've always had a fast metabolism, so 160. Sure, I'm not fat, but that's I could eat.
I'm sure you can.
You take me to a buffet, I'm probably
21 now.
You, yeah.
You know what it is? Okay, how about this? Let me throw this out at you. Maybe we go. There is a Korean barbecue right down the street. All you can eat. Are you feel that? Okay.
I'm always down at the Korean barbecue.
But the problem is that you literally tried telling me the skinny person version of, oh man, I'm a fat kid at heart, which I feel is what fit people tell fat people to relate. And I always, whenever I hear somebody be like, I'm a fat kid at heart, I was like, false. You're a liar, sir. You didn't eat like the rest of us. Like, listen, bro, this right here, this is what happens so that this doesn't happen where I get drunk. It absorbs things. When I got a little kid over here telling me like, oh no, I eat too. I'm like, you eat well for a 21-year-old, bro. Okay. That is the terms. So
that's the terms, yeah.
I look forward to it. I will tell you this though. If I do hit you with a pro wrestling finisher, it counts for at least 2.
I'm down with that, but it's not gonna happen. So
I mean, I'm just saying, you said something, and I won't say what it is, especially not on air. But you said something to one of our guys that I think opened a huge door for my game.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
I think you know I do too.
It's okay.
Okay. Yeah. But I'm just saying, I don't know if that is part of the game plan. I know your game well enough. I know you've got some tricks up your sleeve.
Might be, yeah.
But I'm just letting you know, now that there's food stakes, now I got to try. Before, it was all fun and games. I was like, oh, all right, well, we're just going to come here and train. And now I'm like, I see this kid. I know he trash talks. So I know at minute 30 of like a marathon roll, he's going to be like, hey, man, do you really think you got this? Do you really think you got this, Kimura? I don't think you do, fam.
I'll be talking during the rolls. You'll hear it.
Here's the problem, though. as good as you are at fighting, there is no way you're better at trash talk than I am.
I'm a great trash talker.
Okay.
I just haven't shown everybody.
I know. Do me a favor then. Tell me the best trash talk moment that you've ever had, because this will tell me a lot about you. Do you have a moment, either in a fight or in the training room, the best trash talk moment you've ever had, sir?
Oh, for sure. I've trash talked somebody. I'll bring it all the way back to middle school. I trash talked somebody so bad that they punched me in the face. I get under people's skins, and I'm not gonna say I'm gonna get under. I respect your skills at a level of your trash talk.
Okay.
But I haven't showed you mine yet. And I get pretty funny. Even everybody that trains with me knows I talk shit when I'm training with them, just so I could get under their skin, make them make a mistake.
The problem is that most fighters tell me that they're funny, and I just think it's how they view my jiu-jitsu. Like, the way they look at me as a grappler is the way I look at them as a comedian.
Yeah.
So when they tell me that, I go, oh, that's adorable. You thought that was funny. Yeah. I say stuff that makes you go back to your childhood and go, wait, what did he just say? And you know what the nice part was? I knew I could at least have this kind of conversation with you, because as I was throwing it around, I literally was telling you in the conversation, I was like, I have a money in the bank briefcase where I will cash that in and take that away from you, sir. And you're just laughing. And I was like, all right, he's cool, people. I go, some of these people are so competitive. They might be like, so we're fighting? I'd be like, no, we're not fighting in the dark. We're just grappling. So I like hearing that, but I feel like we will hopefully have a good day. I will tell you, though, I am familiar with your submissions. Okay. I have seen them happen. They're very good.
Thank you.
They're very good. I don't know how much I get caught with those things, though.
Those are under punches and all. Those are with punches and all of that. You haven't seen my level of jiu-jitsu skills on there. So I'm just saying.
Hey, you know what? You're right.
I'm bringing an element to surprise. You've seen bits and pieces.
That's 100% great, especially for a guy who just learned wrestling a couple years ago. I'm just saying, it's great to know all of these little tricks. I'm just saying, I showed up ready to go, so I feel like you've already been at a -1. So you're already
mind games.
Brother, you're talking mind games, but you gotta waste gas to come back here.
You are right, but it's okay. I'm gonna be in the area, so I'll be fine.
Which is amazing. But I have to tell you this, Aaron, you have a great story. Just somebody that I enjoyed watching fight. From our similar circle of friends, I had heard good things, but I wanted to see for myself. And even though you've kind of put a close on the chapter that is your amateur career, I feel like even with 6 fights, you made the statement you needed to make, and I wish you so well. But I wanted to mark this occasion where you were, because when I do interviews with people, I really like to put chapters, and I felt like you were closing a chapter in your life. And I didn't know for sure if you were going to close out on the amateur side, but I knew that last win was one where I said, this is a dude who's solidifying his place in the Southern California community. And as a huge fan of all things SoCal, I wish you the best going forward, man. I think you got a great career. Keep doing what you're doing and keep making your team proud, because you're doing great things. So I look forward to checking back in with you in the near future, sir.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right, let me go ahead and close this on out. All right, now that I've said all the nice things to him, I can talk trash about him. Let's say this. If you guys enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I told you, if you didn't know what you were going to comment on at the end of the video, I guess I should ask you guys, what is the best trash talk you have ever said to anybody while training with somebody? Now, a lot of you haven't fought. I don't make the assumption you've ever been in a cage. It's a very small percentage of a percentage. But I think a lot of you have rolled, or a lot of you have boxed. What is the most offensive thing that you've said? Because this dude, if you're looking on over at what he's done in his life, this is a terrorist. This is somebody who probably has said some shit that somebody has had to go to therapy to figure out in their life. So tell us in the comment section what you've said, and hopefully you enjoyed this interview. Additionally, check us out, patreon.com/grappling hour. Go there for these interviews 30 days before anybody else. You want to see these and you want to support the show, because every dollar you put into the show goes directly back into buying new equipment, paying for me to go travel places, paying for gas. I mean, all this shit adds up. So everything you guys do, it is reinvested in this show, because we're going to continue to build and build. And we've got a huge summer for you guys. We got me covering PGF out in Vegas every single week in the summer. And there's like this one that we're close. I can't say what it is. but like potentially being involved with the biggest thing in grappling. So I'm just, you know what I mean? Like I can't say what it is, but like if it happens, it'd be dope. And you guys can always catch us on the bullpen every Friday, but you get all of those things and much more if you check us out, patreon.com/grappling hour. If you want to get a hoodie or a t-shirt that says grappling hour, means the world. Again, goes right back into the show. Check that out, rafasparza.com/merch. And finally, last but not least, if you want to support the show and continue the conversations that we have here, all you have to do is check us out on Discord, and that is at Grappling Hour. All right, ladies and gents, that's going to do it for us here at the Grappling Hour. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this one. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.